Museums are supposed to show us the truth, the best evidence, the things that actually happen, but sometimes something is discovered that is so uncomfortable, so disruptive to what we think we know, that it never makes it behind the glass. These are the discoveries that museums would rather ignore. In 1739, a strange bronze object was discovered near the town of Aston in England. It had 12 flat faces, each a perfect pentagon, with a hole in the center of every face. Small knobs protruded from every corner. This object became known as a Roman dodecahedron. Since then, over 120 of these objects have been found across Europe. They date back to the Roman Empire. Every single one is slightly different. No ancient text references them. No inscriptions explain them. No Roman writer ever mentions their purpose. Museums will display them, but here's the catch. They refuse to label them with a definitive explanation. Some archaeologists believe they were used for surveying or measuring distance. Others think they were knitting tools, military rangefinders, candle holders, or religious objects of some kind. None of these theories can be proven fully, though. Experiments fail to produce consistent results. The British Museum and others openly admit they do not know what these were used for. The first time scientists tested this object, they assumed the equipment was malfunctioning. In the city of Delhi, India, stands a massive iron pillar over 23 feet tall and weighing more than 6 tons. It was erected around the year 400 CE, during the reign of Chandragupta II. What makes it extraordinary is not its size, it's the condition. The pillar has stood outdoors for over 1,600 years, through monsoons, extreme heat and pollution, and centuries of exposure, but it's barely rusted. Modern metallurgical analysis revealed something deeply uncomfortable. Iron contains an unusually high phosphorus content, almost no sulfur or manganese. This composition creates a passive protective film that prevents corrosion. The problem is this: producing iron at this purity level requires precise temperature control and advanced forging techniques that historians insist did not exist at that time. Museums and textbooks accept the pillar exists, but they refuse to describe it as evidence of advanced ancient technology. Instead, it is framed as this lucky accident or a one-time fluke. Despite decades of study, no ancient text explains how this thing was actually made. No tools have been found that could replicate it using known methods. Modern engineers still struggle to recreate the same corrosion resistance without industrial processes. In 1912, archaeologists excavating burial mounds near Lake Delavan in Wisconsin uncovered several human skeletons. Multiple skeletons measured between 7 and 8 feet tall. Their skulls had unusual proportions, including elongated craniums and double rows of teeth. These were not amateur diggers either. These were professional archaeologists working with the Beloit College Museum. Newspapers across the United States reported this discovery. Photographs were taken, measurements were recorded. Then the remains were sent to museums, and they disappeared after that. The Smithsonian Institution is denied possessing any such skeletons. Beloit College claims records were lost. No bones remain on display. No formal explanation was ever released. The existence of the skeletons is undeniable, though. The rejection lies in what they would imply about human history. In 1936, a couple walking near London, Texas, discovered a hammer partially embedded in limestone rock. The rock surrounding it was estimated to be over 100 million years old. The hammer itself was made of iron that was 96.6% pure. This level of purity is difficult to achieve, even with modern metallurgy. The hammer was examined by metallurgists. The wood handle was partially coalified, meaning it had begun turning into coal. Museums refused to accept this object as ancient. Instead, they claim the rock formed around a modern hammer due to mineral accretion. However, this explanation fails to account for the metal composition or the coalification of the handle. The hammer exists today in private collections. Museums will not display it, not because it's fake, but because it disrupts established timelines. When miners uncovered this fossil, scientists immediately said it was impossible. In 1899, a human finger bone was discovered embedded inside a solid coal seam in Oklahoma. Coal ore was dated to the Carboniferous period, around 300 million years ago. Coal does not form quickly. It requires immense pressure over vast periods of time. Anything embedded within it should be just as old. Bone was examined and confirmed to be anatomically human, not a primate, not an animal, a human finger. Museums rejected the find outright. They did not attempt to prove it was fake. They simply declared it intrusive intrusive, meaning it somehow worked its way into the coal long after formation. The problem is there was no fracture line, no surrounding disturbance. The coal seam was intact. Rather than investigate further, institutions archived the report and excluded it from official records. In the late 1800s, a crystal skull surfaced in Paris. It was carved from a single piece of quartz with extreme precision. The most famous skull, known as the Mitchell-Hedges skull, was later discovered in Central America. Quartz is one of the hardest materials to carve. Experts estimate it would take years using modern tools. Museums initially accepted the skulls as ancient artifacts, but then in the 1960s they quietly reversed course. Instead of proving they were modern fakes, museums simply refused to display them. Testing produced conflicting results. Some showed tool marks, others didn't. Today, museums classify them as unverified and avoid the topic pretty much altogether. The skulls remain real objects with no agreed explanation. In the 1930s, German archaeologists uncovered a clay jar near Baghdad. Inside was a copper cylinder and an iron rod. When filled with an acidic solution, it produces a small electric charge. This object dates back nearly 2,000 years, though. Known as the Baghdad Battery, it demonstrates a basic understanding of electrochemistry long before electricity was thought to exist. Museums acknowledge that the Baghdad Battery exists, of course, but they refuse to label it as a battery. Instead, they suggest it may have been a scroll holder or ritual object. Repeated experiments show it generates electricity. In the late 20th century, sonar surveys off the coast of Japan revealed a massive stone structure beneath the ocean near Yonaguni Island. Divers documented step terraces, sharp right angles, massive stone platforms, and what appeared to be carved staircases. Some blocks weigh thousands of tons. The structure sits over 80 feet underwater. Geological dating suggests it was above sea level more than 10,000 years ago. That would place its construction before the accepted rise of civilization. Museums refuse to classify it as man-made. They acknowledge the formation exists, but say it could be just natural erosion. Despite all the flat planes, the straight edges, the consistent angles, independent geologists argue the structure shows clear signs of this being shaped by tools. Museums will not engage though. As a result, the site remains in limbo. In the early 1900s, archaeologist Henry Fairfield Osborne examined a fossilized human footprint alongside prehistoric animal tracks in Nevada. The footprint appeared in the same geological layer as extinct Ice Age animals. If accurate, it would mean humans existed far earlier than accepted timelines. Museums rejected the finding. They labeled the footprint a natural formation, and no further analysis was permitted. The moment this discovery was analyzed, it threatened to break the human timeline in half. In 1866, miners digging a tunnel through Table Mountain in California uncovered a human jawbone buried deep beneath layers of volcanic basalt. The rock above it had been formed by lava flows dated to over 9 million years ago. This was not loose soil. The jawbone was sealed beneath solid volcanic rock, meaning it had been there before the lava hardened. The bone was sent to Harvard University and examined by Dr. J.D. Whitney, the state geologist of California. After studying the surrounding geology, Whitney concluded the jawbone was genuinely ancient and could not have been introduced later. If that conclusion were accepted, it would place humans in North America millions of years before current models allow. Museums immediately rejected the finding. Rather than disproving the geology, institutions labeled the jawbone a hoax or a misplaced modern bone, despite no evidence of intrusion. Basalt layers showed no cracks or disturbances. The mining tunnel had been sealed since its creation. Eventually, the discovery was removed from official publications. The specimen itself has vanished. The discovery was never proven false. It was just erased. That's been the video for today. I will catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next one.